Hello, hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Come on in the space. Come on in. Come on in. If you are watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, please give StreamYard permission to show your name so I can see who I'm talking to in the comments if you're here live. If you're watching after the fact, don't hesitate to leave comments if you have any. I always go back and look at the broadcast for that reason, just to see if there are comments. So come on in. I am Renita Alexander, the Leadership Locksmith, founder of Leadership Unlocked, and this is Set It Up Sunday. So, Set It Up Sunday is my weekly conversation where I talk about all the things you can do to be intentional about leading yourself. So, in whatever way whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever you define as success, that you are leading yourself in that direction. So, let me know you're here. Just say hey. Yeah, come on in. So, I only do this for about 15 minutes on Sunday evenings. This kind of mirrors my what I did, my process when I was actually on active duty. I started this when I was on active duty, as I start to gain more responsibility in the military as a single parent. I found that the only way I could get everything done and be the person that I wanted to be was to be really intentional about that. So I started doing sort of scheduling for the week on Sunday evenings, sometimes, usually after my daughter was in bed, and I was just kind of winding down. So this is I'm trying to mirror that. And the thing for this year actually has been reset, and I have been touching on reset quite a bit this year so far. And there are many reasons that we reset. We may receive new information, there may be new circumstance. You're in a new environment. I frequently found myself in a new environment when I was on active duty. But sometimes we recognize the need to reset when something isn't working. So, or something is blocking our way. Or, sometimes we get really, really close. We come close to perfection. We come close to reaching our goal, and it just isn't enough. That was the case last week with my favorite NFL quarterback. You know who it is, Jalen Hurts. So, Jalen is my favorite quarterback. I have been a fan of his, as I've often said here, since he was a freshman at the University of Alabama. And I have been talking about Jalen periodically throughout this entire football season, starting during spring practice. I think I republished something that I wrote way back 7 months ago when things kind of kicked off. But like I said, I've been a fan since he was at Alabama. I continued to be a fan. Even wrote a speech. I gave a speech about him when he was a quarterback at Oklahoma. I was so impressed with his resilience, his faith, his determination. And last week, millions of people got to see him in the Super Bowl, and apparently some of them for the very first time. Those might have been the Rihanna fans, but I think a lot of people came away totally impressed with the way he played. In fact, many suggested that he could have won the Super Bowl MVP despite his team losing the game, which that's happened. I believe I read that it's happened once before, but only once, because normally the outstanding player on the team that won is the MVP. And that was certainly the case this time. By the way, congratulations to Kansas City, to Patrick Mahomes, who was the Super Bowl MVP, and their fans. But let me just say that the individual honor, winning the MVP, was never Jalen Hurts' goal. At least that's what he has stated. His goal and the team's goal was to win the Super Bowl, not to play well and lose, not to come in second place. And of course, they fell short. All the work and the sacrifice that they made in providing entertainment for us, but they obviously have personal goals in their chosen profession, and it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Has anybody had that happen? Let's see if I got any comments here. No comments. Okay, anybody had that happen? Please share if you've had that happen to you where you worked really, really hard and just came short. How did you respond? How did you respond to that? Well, not meeting a goal can be discouraging. Sometimes when we come really close to our goal, we may feel like it's pointless to even try again, right? Because if it was meant to be, if we were good enough, if we had actually worked hard enough, then perhaps we would have met it the first time. But not discounting the real obstacles out there, because there are some obstacles. That's the type of thinking that gets us stuck in our own heads, and we're creating barriers for ourselves. We're preventing ourselves from moving forward to our own goals, whatever they are. So I'm going to share some things that to help you get past that, to help you move forward to meeting that goal. And the first thing is, and I've talked about this a couple of times this year as a part of the whole reset theme, and that is reflection. Now, we used to call it after action report when I was in the military. And the idea is just to figure out what happened, what went wrong. During that time, also what went right, so you can do more of that. But what went wrong? What derailed the plan? What derailed what prevented you from meeting the goal? Was it something that was unexpected, that you couldn't have foreseen, something that you didn't plan for? Or was it, people not executing or not following through or not meeting milestones along the way to get to the end result? When you reflect, when you look back on the whole process, the idea is to see where you did well, what did you do well, where you succeeded, and where you fell short. Again, it's not to necessarily point the finger or blame any one thing, because usually there is more than one thing that especially when you're working towards something as a team, there can be many things that derail you, and certainly that was the case during the game, the Super Bowl game last weekend. But taking that time to reflect and figuring out what you can learn from this attempt, figuring out what is going to require a little bit more effort, is really the first step in making that reset to try again for your goal. The second thing, and I'm on an alliteration kick today, so the second thing is to receive feedback. Sometimes there is someone outside of you that can offer you some perspective, be it when it comes to you meeting your goal, be it a friend, be it a coworker, be it a supervisor, somebody who maybe has met the goal that you're working toward, who has done that job or done that before. Success leaves clues. So those are the kind of things those are the people that you can ask them about their experience, right? What did they do when things happen and they didn't quite reach the goal? What did their process look like? And then just open yourself up to that feedback. The power of feedback is actually in the receiver. So you have the opportunity to hear a perspective from somebody who can see perhaps things that you can't, if you are willing to receive that. Whatever they're offering, their thoughts or advice. Because at the end of the day, you get to decide what is true and what works for you and what doesn't. And then the third thing is to remind yourself of what you've learned. So maybe you just didn't fail. You didn't fail. You just didn't meet the goal this time. And that's okay. That happens. And so, perhaps the focus should not be on I failed, but what did I learn? Right? It's that mindset. If we think of ourselves as failures, if we think of a particular opportunity, or if we see a missed opportunity as a failure, then perhaps we won't try that again. So part of the being able to reset is to remind yourself what you can learn from this experience. Because even if you didn't meet the goal all the way, if you didn't achieve the final goal, there's some things you gained along the way. You saw what it takes perhaps to get there. You've gained some experience. You've gained some knowledge that you didn't perhaps have when you first started. So now perhaps what you need to do. And again, as I said when I talked about reflection, how you can make some changes to achieve it perhaps the next time when you try, because you're going to try again. You want to try again. You don't want to not try again unless you decide during your reflection that the goal that you were trying to reach is not the goal you really wanted to attain. So think back, to when you first started. Think about what you have learned. Make note of the progress you made, and remind yourself that without the effort to achieve your goal, you wouldn't have gained any of that. And that is a success in itself. As Jalen said, and he was quoting Nelson Mandela on this, you either win or you learn. And so that's that last point. And so, three things again. There is the reflection, just to kind of see what you did, what you didn't do. The capability to receive feedback from someone who has had the experience, or someone that is around you that can see things that perhaps you missed. And then the last thing is just that reminder that you did learn something. And, because at the end of the day, that is sometimes what you take away from it is the things that you learn, and you do learn something. Again, you either win or you learn. It's not a win or lose, it's win or learn. All right, let me see if there's any comments. Oh, and one other thing, I always add this to whatever it is I'm talking about. Give yourself some grace, right? At the end of the day, and at the beginning of even this process, is give yourself some grace to do all these things, to reflect, to get the feedback, and to remind yourself that there are things to be learned from what did and didn't happen. Okay, I'm actually early. So let me just take a minute to share some information about something I'm participating in on March 11th. I'll be talking about this until it actually happens. It's called Freedom Sessions Chicago, and it's a collaborative effort with a group that I facilitate, Moxie Women. There are other folks involved that all reside at 1449 at South Michigan, which is the home of Moxie Chicago and Overflow Coffee. So we are all collaborating. Several entities in that space are collaborating, and it's going to be a great event, really purposed to empower women. So please check it out. Check out I've got it posted on my Facebook page. I've got it posted on LinkedIn. I've got it posted on Instagram. I need to post it on YouTube, so I'll do that right tonight. So that's coming up on March 11th. It's a it's an all-day event. So there's a morning session that ends at about 1 o'clock, and then a great opportunity to explore Chicago. And then there's basically a nighttime concert where some local artists local and not so local artists that you want to hear will be performing. So, okay, so that is it for me for this Sunday evening. Please comment even after the fact. I look forward to reading those comments. Have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you next Sunday.